Good morning. This is the Ramblings of an Undisciplined Mind podcast for Tuesday, February 22nd, 2015. I've got my Starbucks here because it's my birthday. Got me a little caramel macchiato because I had a birthday reward. One thing I'm not very happy about is they have announced they're revamping the rewards program and starting in April. You know, and it sounds like something the management of my work would do, where we're giving you more stars, but it also takes more stars to get anything. So, whereas right now you get a star for every beverage or every thing you buy. And 12 stars is a free thing, and to re-up on gold, it's 30 stars over the course of the year. And apparently they're changing it. I've got the pamphlet in my pocket. I gotta read it later in more detail. But apparently they are changing it where you get, 2 stars for every dollar you spend. It's 150 stars to get a free reward, and it's 300 stars to re-up your gold. So, yeah, and they're trying, well, were you doing what you wanted? We're giving you more stars. But the reality is that they're worth less. It's funny how they don't think we notice that. Isn't it? Funny, strange. We notice. I notice. So we notice. So it's quite likely that, part of the reason I go to Starbucks is because of the rewards program. All things considered, I would probably rather frequent Big B, since they're a relatively local company and they've got good stuff. And this might push me there. Just might. I'm doing an experiment today. I am dual recording. If you're listening to this on audio, nothing has changed. But I am also recording this on the YouTube app on my phone. And I'm going to upload that. It's not going to have as good an audio. It's going to have whatever it can pick up, which I think is going to be sufficient. But I don't have the time to really try to, match up my audio track from my digital, to what's happening there on the phone. So I'm going to try it, see how it goes. I thought that might be a little bit better than me putting out a video that's just, a static thing and whatnot. So today is my birthday. I am 53. So if I was a deck of cards, when I turned 52 last year, I am now a deck of cards of the Joker. Man, I should have got my sunglasses out because the sun is coming up and it is brutal. Sorry, hit your nose. I gotta remember that everything I'm doing now can be seen. I had a beautiful view this morning of the moon when I was heading out the sub. I gotta head westward just for a little bit while I'm getting out of the sub. And the moon was huge. Low on the horizon and huge. And it was very pretty. Very pretty. Kind of a nice sight. We got a clear day coming. Looks like today there's not hardly any clouds in the sky. But snow is coming. I think starting tomorrow to Thursday, snow 6+ inches maybe. It is still winter time. It's still Feb. Can't complain. It's still February. So last night I finished the 3-body problem and I'm gonna mangle this because I don't speak Chinese. Cixin Lu. And so the author spells his name Cixin. So I pronounce it Cixin. It's probably not the authentic spelling. Oh, dear me. Oh, give me some room. God, driving. I gotta put up with idiots that won't give me room so that I can make room for people trying to get on. body problem. I believe he won the Hugo. The Hugo site, they list them, and apparently they list them in the order of votes, and that was listed at the top. So I'm, from my reading of the website, I think they could be clearer personally, but from reading of the website, whoever's at the top has won the Hugo, and that would be this book, and it was very interesting. First of all, because it was written in Chinese and then translated to English, and the translator's again in Kenlu, and it's spelled Liu. The last names are the same, but I do not believe they are related. And he said that how he tried to make things understandable for American readers, but he also tried to keep some of the flavor that this is somebody from a different culture. And I think he did a good job of that. There were some of the terms of phrase that were not bad English, but were not necessarily what we would do. So it's not like you're reading broken English or BS like that. It was very well translated. But you can tell that culturally it's a different mindset. It was interesting. There's actually a 3-book series. So I might have to check the other ones out. This is probably the first. I kind of consider this a hard sci-fi because it does seem to be real science behind it. But it was explained well. I mean, I've sometimes read hard sci-fi where if they're explaining something, it kind of begins to sound like Star Trek techno babble, and I just kind of scan to the end of the technical babble bit to get back to the story, and I didn't have to do that on this. This is kind of it is a strange book. It's obviously, I don't want to say obviously, I don't know where I was going with it, but it's not your grandfather's science fiction, that's for sure. So it takes place in China, not surprisingly. It takes place part of it takes place during the Cultural Revolution, and I didn't really know much about the Cultural Revolution. I think is when the communists came to power in China. But that old Chinese curse, you live in interesting times. That's the Cultural Revolution, and that was some nasty crap. If half of what he described happened, and I were feeling more, that was bad news. But you've got this transmitting listening post that they've set up to try to reach and listen to extraterrestrials. And so you got kind of a dual story. You've got this woman that's basically she has not come well out of the Cultural Revolution, and she is basically being held for the rest of her life at this listening post. She's a scientist, so she's working there, but she's never expected to be able to leave it. And she figures out a way to send a message that another. Whoa. Yeah, that's the bad thing. I got the sunshade down because I got the sun right in my eyes, but then I can't see the lights. It's scary. But so she's trying to reach an alien civilization. She does. Many years later, there's this organization that the government is weary of. We're not quite sure what they're about. They're a scientific organization, and so there's this guy who is a scientist working with nanomaterials that somehow gets caught up in this effort to try to infiltrate it, and he agrees to infiltrate it. And as he's kind of learning about these people and slowly infiltrating it, he comes across this video game called 3 Body. And it's played with a full body VR suit. So if you can imagine, we've got the Oculus thing now, where you just put it over on your face and it covers your eyes. And so you are in. This is like that, but it covers your whole body. You zip up into it, and so it can produce effects of heat and cold goes in and he starts playing this game because one of the people who are in the organization that he's infiltrating was playing it, so he's curious. And it's this game where you are taken to this world, and and it's erratic. They have what are called chaotic eras and stable eras. They'll have a time where the sun is placid and everything goes well and civilization can flourish. But then sometimes the sun will go nuts and it'll be really, really close and it will scorch the earth. And the people have the ability to dehydrate themselves. So they will literally, during what they call the chaotic era, where it was too hot or too cold, people would dehydrate themselves. Their bodies will get put away in these buildings, and then their civilization was kind of on hold until the next stable era. And so, going through this game, you're trying to figure out what is the solution to this problem of this planet. How can they predict stable eras? At the same time, you've got this underground thing that this guy is trying to infiltrate, and he begins to experience the scientists some really odd things, like when he takes a photograph. There's a countdown on it. There's a number that's a number of hours, and if he takes successive photographs, he can see that countdown counting down, and it's just him. If his wife picks up the same camera and takes a picture, it doesn't show up. It's only when he does it. So there's a lot of interesting things going on there, and that's probably about all the setup I'm going to give you on it, because there are a lot of twists and turns that, frankly, I didn't see coming, and I don't want to spoil anything. But I think it was a good read. It's certainly interesting to read something that's from outside my culture. The story was very well put together. It probably doesn't follow what we would consider a traditional Western path necessarily, but it's still very, I had no problem following it. I found it interesting. It's not a very big book, really, so I'd recommend reading it. Translation is very well done. There are some cool things that there are in the course of the book, and at the beginning it seems kind of heavy, and then it kind of settles down, where the translator puts some notes in, and sometimes the author will as well, and that can be useful, especially like the translator. Like there's this one bit there that something is named. Something's called a sophon, S-O-P-H-O-N, and apparently that is a pun in Chinese because it's the same spelling as photon, which this thing dealt with photons. So that was a bit of a pun there that we would just be totally clueless about here. And so the translator threw a note in there just to kind of let you know that this was done. And there were some other things like that. There were a couple explanations about the Cultural Revolution toward the beginning. They were interesting. At first I thought, is this going to pull me out of the story that I'm always reading these notes? But while there were several of them toward the beginning as you're getting into it, they really tailed off for the middle part, and you didn't have very many of them at all. So it wasn't an issue, and they did throw some additional light on the story. So yeah, the 2015 Hugo Award winner, The Three-Body Problem by Sixin Liu. My apologies to Chinese people everywhere for screwing that up. Well, I'm at 14 minutes and some odd, so I think I will let that be that for today. I will be back tomorrow, and I will be talking to you then. And if you haven't watched this video version or check it out, let me know what you think. Right now, I'm not so sure I'm liking it because I've got all these shadow boxes on my face because of the sun. But plus, this is my face. But let me know what you think. If you watch the video, if you prefer video and wouldn't mind seeing my ugly puss on screen, then maybe I'll do this more. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. And until then,